Hey Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, I'm doing well, doing well. There's a topic that we should talk about, and everybody out there has come across it. And unfortunately, it's probably grown more than ever. Started 5 years ago with COVID, and it's
Yeah.
mental illness. And there's a lot of things that incorporate mental illness. Anxiety and stuff like that. And unfortunately, mental illness can lead to suicides and addiction to prescription drugs. It depends what doctors are prescribing. What are some of the things that you've come across in your social groups, through family members, even, your clients, and even some of your employees, and stories you heard?
Listen, mental health, anxiety, depression, all these pieces that people don't know what to do with. And a lot of the times, the hardest part about it is that people are ashamed of it. They don't like to talk about it because they think it makes them different. So that's the biggest part about it, the lack of communication. Though over the last few years, you've seen a slight change where people are becoming more open. Organizations are really trying to help people come out and talk about their problems and just try and get help, because that's really a big part of people and suicide, and they don't know what to do, so they just take their own life. It's a terrible disease, and if only there's people out there that they can go to and turn to get that help. We everyone needs to have a person or a support group that they can go to get that help to turn the page.
Mhm.
I know we both have people we've known or seen that have had these issues, and um, you know the, it's terrible. It's terrible, and you feel bad, and you want to do whatever you can to help. But a lot of the times, you just don't know, right? People act perfectly fine on the front side of how they act in front of people, but deep down, they might be miserable or depressed, and they they may turn to drugs, they may take their life. So we got to make an environment for everyone so they could be heard and try and work out the issues. We've all had friends that had, I'm sure we all have had people that we've known that um, had some of these disorders and these illnesses that they really could have turned the page if they had the help they needed. Um,
Yeah, it's from my own personal view, and this is way before COVID. I my first love, she actually, 6 months after we broke up, there were many different things. I tell people it's like a little bit like a puzzle. Say there's like 11 pieces to this puzzle, and I happen to be one of them. And I don't think she meant to do it, but she went into the garage of a mom's house and started the car after drinking a bottle of wine, and the fumes overcame her. And, she had, passed away. And here
Terrible.
she is, 20 years old. And it's just like, yeah, it is terrible. And again, this is way before COVID and stuff like that. And it really hits you when you have somebody like, that it's especially someone you love, that it does it to you. And then a year ago, I ended up finding out just through conversation. I was talking with a friend of mine, we went to high school together, and there's a girl I dated in my 20s. Great, great girl, very beautiful woman. She was actually a model when she was a teenager. And she stopped modeling when she was 20. She was in Stanford Law School, and she had left for a second year in law school, and that's when we had met. Um, and she had some issues in that. Really smart girl, battled with alcohol and drugs, and that during her modeling years.
Yeah.
Thing I didn't know, the night I met her was the night she fell off the bandwagon drinking, and then I end up finding out 3 months later about a whole past about, addictions and stuff like that. I didn't run away from her, but, and this is probably a couple of years after, my first girlfriend had, committed suicide. But I ended up finding out through my friend a year ago, October, talking, her name came up in conversation because he happened to get a junior high school book, and her picture was in there. He was like, she was a year older. So I had looked her up just out of curiosity. And sure enough, she died 10 days before that. Now, I don't know what she died of, but I had looked at a Facebook page, and, she was battling depression. So I don't know if it was suicide or not. She died. And Now she had like a 22-year-old daughter and that. And I'm just like, wow, it's just
Yeah.
like you start thinking again, it's like you're in a circle. But even more so today, I'm noticing as I go to the gym at the university, and I observe a lot of these younger people and their social skills, which they're poor social skills. However, it's their social skills for their time, and that's what I try to understand. But a lot of them are introverts, and I know they want to have a conversation, but they're afraid to approach you and they don't know what to say. And you know me, I have a sense of humor, so I'll always make a crack, a wise remark, and I make people smile and laugh. And that usually breaks the ice to have a conversation. Most of the time that helps. But they're really battling out there. I notice these young people is there's more introverts today than there were 10, 20 years ago, where you
Yeah.
had a little bit more people outgoing, extroverts. Meanwhile, those extroverts are very few and far between amongst younger people today. Your thoughts?
Well, I think again, social media. It's funny because there's a lot of people on social media that they might be considered influencers to the public because they're posting videos or they're doing this, but some every now and then you'll see like a real like unedited video about them, and they'll tell them, hey, actually I'm very shy. I don't like to talk to people when I'm in public. I'm not good, in public with people. I act that way on social media because it's me and the camera. I'm very to myself. And I think because all of what you just said, people not being out there as much, not talking to people as much, it's because you ever go to like a party and you see like there's, a few dozen people, and sometimes people aren't talking to each other. They're all on the phone. Like they're not they're there physically, but mentally they're just not with anyone. They're just talking or texting someone. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we've gotten away from that human interaction that we, have always done in the past. But the whole thing with depression and mental illness is that a lot of times you don't know. Like the people that are in your friends groups, you may not know that they're depressed. They might be like
Yeah.
the most outgoing person, talking to everyone, but deep down when they come home, they're missing a piece that they want, and they don't know how to get that. So
Yeah.
you have to feel for them, and you want them to get the help, and you want them to open up, to confide in someone and get the help that they need, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not a disability. It,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you just need to work out. Sometimes people make themselves more stressed with their lifestyle, right? They're constant. They're always, you ever meet people that they're constantly in a state of crisis? Like there's always a
Mm-hmm.
problem. There's always something crazy going on. There's always a big story around it. There's no like zen period of any sort. It's always like one crazy piece to another, to another, to another, and
Mm-hmm.
they're creating it themselves. Like they don't need to. You got to wake up. You have to have healthy meal for breakfast. You do your exercise, whatever you may need to do. Meditate. There's a lot of pieces out there that you have to really go through your lifestyle and figure out like how do you make yourself as a whole happy. Um,
It's you've nailed something that's part of a cure to get out of the hole. And, people have to look at what are your current habits? My mom, unfortunately, after she retired from her job, she just liked to stay in bed and sleep. And that's not a good sign.
yeah.
That's a sign of depression. And I noticed that. And I approached my dad on it. I said, listen, mom's suffering from depression. And, you talk to her about it. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I go, listen, to stay in bed till like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then you're taking naps during the course of the day, that's not good. That's not healthy. It's there's an old saying, the early bird gets the worm. And that, you want to be an early riser. There's a reason for these like stupid little sayings, but you got to get out there and like you said, you got to get yourself into a routine. Look at your habits. What are you doing right now? What do you do Monday through Sunday? What time you wake up? What are you doing when you wake up? Are you just moseying around? Are you reading? Are you starting to enlighten yourself? It's kind of like looking at a lighter when you're like flip your thumb to get the lighter going, or you pull your trigger to get that stick going, to get that flame going. That's what you got to do. It's up to you to get yourself motivated. And like you said, go into the gym. Listen, that's my routine every morning. As soon as I wake up, do my, bathroom duties and that, make my bed, I'm out the door and I'm on the way to the gym to work out. Do I like doing it every day? Absolutely not. But I know I have to do it because it's not only healthy for my body, it's healthy for my mind. And that it gets your day going. I mean, what's your thoughts, Jonathan?
Think it's important. I mean, listen, you can fall into a routine that is unhealthy very easily. Like you said,
Oh, yeah.
waking up late, running, just kind of dragging around the house, not doing anything, barely getting out of your pajamas, there, especially now with like remote work being a big thing, you need to create those positive habits. So, like when it's nicer out, in New York, it's not nice all year, obviously. So when it's nicer out, one of the things I like to do is every morning, I like to walk. I walk 3 miles in the morning before
Okay.
even, before even like, 7 in the morning. So my son will go to school and then I'll walk for an hour. And then that will be
That's
like
great.
my little routine to start with. And then depending on how I feel right after, I might go to the gym and do some, legs or arms, whatever it may be, work
Hmm.
that out, and just it's important because that motivates your body for the rest of the day, and then one of the best pieces is that at night you're tired, you go right to sleep because one of the things that I hate is going to bed and you can't sleep, you're just rolling around and you didn't do anything, so you're not tired.
Hmm.
So and I mean, listen, there's a lot of depth on what we can do better. People, we're not therapists here. We're not psychologists. We don't know how to handle certain conditions, but from experience, we all have experienced people in our lives or ourselves maybe at times where you might be feeling down. I think the biggest piece is that find someone that you can trust and talk to. Have like
Hmm.
that person that's your rock. It could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your best friend, it could be a parent, it could be a child. Find that person that you tell everything to, and they're going to be there through the hard times, and that's what you need because you don't want to be alone.
No,
Um,
you're right. Like you mentioned earlier, you got people who are socially connected with you, hanging out with friends, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and mentally they're in a bad rut. Why don't you pull up that link I had sent to you from the was it the National Council for Mental Health? It is.
at the mentalhealthfirstaid.org.
Yeah, so scroll up a little bit because these numbers. This is reality. What's going on? I'm sure a lot of us. You got the 1 in 5 there. Yeah, look, right there, right there. Let's just look at that. You got 1 in 5 American adults that are suffering from some type of mental health disorder, and 50% of almost all American adults will experience some type of mental illness during the course of their lifetime. And 20 million Americans ages 12 and older will face an addiction. But let's look at that 50% number. All right. I'm going to raise my hand from the back of the classroom because yeah, I fell into that rut myself. I've been there, you know. It didn't last long, but what helped me get out of that, sometimes you got to do a little bit of soul searching. A lot of it has, I'm a big person that is spiritual. I have a relationship with God, so that helps me. But also, what Jonathan mentioned earlier is having those positive people in your life. And I've always said it before, numerous times in our videos: the birds of a feather flock together. So you got to find those right people to be in your lives, and you know I go back to the gym because you got to keep your body moving, but you got to find yourself a workout buddy. That's what you have to do. And if you have somebody to go to the gym with, that's great. There was a friend of mine, Caroline was her name, and she needed a workout friend. And sure enough, I went with her. I trained her in that. We did it for a good year and a half. I'd pick her up in the morning at like 5 o'clock. I was a big motivator because I'm usually up at 4:30. So, we drive to the gym. We worked out like 5 days a week, but it was a good thing. And you know what? I noticed after, literally about 6 weeks, she was a different person. And I just saw her turn around. She started believing in herself more. She was getting more confidence. And that's what working out will do, especially when you're lifting weights. You're starting to feel better. You feel stronger, not only in your body, but in your mind and your backbone. You stand up taller. It's amazing how things will affect you when you start doing this. And, from doing that, it becomes a domino effect in other parts of your life, your work life, professional life. And, you might find yourself volunteering now that you weren't volunteering before. You want to help others. So it
Yeah.
really depends, but you need something that's going to ignite that fire in you to make it happen. Do you have any personal experiences yourself that you've come across? And have you ever suffered, from depression where you were in a rut?
Well, listen, I think there are parts of life that you will be in that rut where you just don't know like what's the next move or what's the point or what is what's next for you, right? A lot of times you'll be in like when I used to work for a company, my personal experience, I hated everything, right? I didn't like
Hmm.
the way things were going. I didn't see a future in what I was doing. Um, it made me like, what's the point of going to work? Like, I hate this. It's not what I love. It's not part of my life. I don't want it to be part of my life. So
Hmm.
it took a lot for me to figure out like how do I get out of this. For me, it was a trap. How do I get out of this trap, right?
Hmm.
I want to be in control of my own destiny. I want to be in control of my life, and working for these people was terrible. It was like the worst thing I ever went through with in a professional capacity, and it motivated me to saying, "Listen, I'm gonna survive on less income working on my own because I
Hmm.
hated working there. The people, my coworkers were great, luckily, but the people that were
Okay.
in charge were terrible, and it really gave me that motivation. And when I left, I felt like I was like flying. I swear, it was like a whole nother me, and it really it was a big part of my like changing of my life. Um, a big part of what people I find is that people, especially younger people, right, they'll get into relationships or they look for friends and they're looking for these people to make them happy, right? They'll be buying these like watches or handbags or going on vacations and they try
Hmm.
and use like a person, like all these valuable things to make them happy. But that's a temporary high, right? They go on these shopping sprees to feel happy and good. It doesn't last, right? You buy it, it goes in your closet, and then it's done. You got to find pure happiness within first before you meet people, before you get married, before you get in a relationship. Because if you're not
Hmm.
happy with yourself, you can't expect the other person to make you happy if you were never happy in the beginning. So
That's
it
true.
it's a big piece, and all of what you said too, like working out, feeling good about yourself. That's what it does. Working out, feeling confident with your body, feeling confident with what you're saying and what you're doing. That's how you feel better about your life as a whole, at least in my experience. When
Hmm.
you're, dragging around, not doing anything, working a dead end job that you hate, um, it's difficult to be positive because you have nothing good going on, and
Hmm.
you need to figure out it's not going to happen overnight. You got to think about it. What do you really want? What is this life for? What are we doing here? What am I supposed to be doing? How do I contribute in society in a positive way for both them and me? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of pieces there that it's important.
It is. And like you're saying, what's going to make you happy? Um, Listen, personally, on this past New Year's Eve morning, I got up and I went to, it was organized by the Knights of Columbus, and we actually prepared food baskets for the senior citizens for the coming month. And I didn't know any of these people. I had just met one or two of them, but I was in a room with like about 20 people, and they're all strangers to me, and I'm a stranger to them. But you know what? We're doing something. We've come together to help people, and that's what we were doing. So that was our common ground. So and then I started chatting with people. They were chatting with me, and some people I can see there's a little connection, others I didn't. But my point's this: I put myself out there in a totally awkward situation, but it was a place where my heart wanted to be to help somebody. But I was able to meet some more people. So I had a little bit of not only helping people, but I had personally received some social fulfillment from doing that because now I met a few people. So my point's this. It made me happy to do that for someone else, but in return, I got a little bit of happiness because I met a few more people in my life that I didn't meet before. And I know these are good-hearted people because they were doing a good-hearted act like myself. So my point's this. These are things you need to think about. Don't be intimidated. You know what? Again, walked into a strange room, and so did those other people. They didn't know other people there, but we had some common ground, and that's where things work from. I'm not a believer in prescription drugs, and you have a lot of people, uh, as that stat showed, over 20 million people will get addicted to depressant drugs, and that's not good because that's going to lead to other issues, not only addiction, it could lead to, possible suicide down the road as well, too. You want to surround yourself with positive people, all right? And you got to make that big step, and it is a big step to go do that. You got to go outside your realm in order to find those people. Not saying you got to walk in a room where there's 50 people, walk in a room where there's maybe two people. You know what? And it's easier to break the.
All right. I think in conclusion to everything we're talking about, there's a lot. This is a tough topic. There's a lot of really good pieces here that we could continue to talk about forever. But
Mhm.
um, I think it's we'll keep going over it. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, listen, you know what? Like I said, I think it's best you try to like surround yourself and just find out one person to stop, that one building block. That's all
Yeah.
you need. And once you find that one building block, let everything start connecting for you to go in the right direction. But don't be afraid to go outside your realm. I'm not a big proponent on, prescription drugs. The cure's right there organically for you outside your front door. Walk around barefoot in the morning on the grass because that energy connecting with your body, it's all magnetic. That helps you as well too. Get in touch with nature. All right, that's a big thing. So start walking barefoot in the morning, and go out and go to the gym and meet the right people. And that's what you have to do. Those are my final thoughts. We thank you for listening to a serious subject. We appreciate it. We share it with others. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.